Hello and welcome to FXStreet Currency in Play. I'm Matt Brown. I'm joined down the line today by Ryan Littlestone from Forexflow.live. How are you today, Ryan?
Very good, Matthew. Yourself?
Yeah, very well. Great to have you on. Well, let's kick off with the headlines. All a bit about inflation really today. We start off with cable. Sterling, little change as inflation meets expectation. That's the 3% as expected coming in for the CPI. We saw the pound actually lift up a little bit, but starting to drift back down. Euro dollar, euro is heading lower with a pinch of uncertainty. And finally, euro sterling, euro breaks lower with, again, the UK inflation in focus. I think it's best if we have a look at the charts, starting off with cable. Just talk us through on the daily chart, Ryan, where potentially cable can go from here. We're kind of stuck around this 132.50 level. Up or down from here?
That's all going to depend on what comes out from the Bank of England. We've got the guys in a Treasury Select Committee at the moment. Carney's up in a little while. And obviously he's going to get asked what's going to happen with rates, amongst other things. At the moment, we're getting a slightly dovish Ramsden coming out in the headlines. He's warning about the effects of Brexit. He's warning about productivity. He's not giving an overly hawkish picture. But again, this is speaking to the government bod, so they don't tend to go really deep into monetary policy and what they're going to do. But I think for right now, we're going to be pinging and ponging between sort of the 132 level, 133. Unless we get anything strong from Carney a little later, then maybe we'll see something jump up there. But as you say, inflation came out pretty much on the numbers as expected. There was a little bit in cable, about 20 pips before the numbers, which could indicate that we were getting higher numbers, but they came out as expected. I think there's some relief there that they weren't lower, which does keep the pressure on the Bank of England.
Understood. And at the moment, is there a trade in cable? It's stuck in that, like we say, around this kind of mid-range. Is there a trade, or is it more of a case of wait for the move and then trade on with the trend potentially?
Yeah, I think you've got to trade headline to headline, because obviously, as well as the Bank of England, we've got this Brexit mess still going on. We've seen some wild moves over the last few weeks. Up to 136, straight down again. Last week we had another couple of hundred pips off. Up and down, up and down. Every time there's a headline, something kicks off. So really, it's not something, unless you want to take a really, really long-term position and scaling sort of small amounts and keep your risk manageable, then really just got to roll with the punches. If we get a good headline, if you can jump on it, jump on it. If those headlines hit a big topside level that you can lean against, and we show signs that we're not going to push above, that's the time to either take profits or look to fade the move. But yeah, you've really got to take each headline as they come. There's no way you can sit here and go, it's going to 136 tomorrow or it's going to 130, because any headlines can just kick it either way.
Understood. And moving on to euro dollar, probably a more interesting pair at the moment. We had Donald Trump meeting with John Taylor from Stanford University, an economist there, and looks like that went quite favourably for Taylor, and he's deemed as a hawk, and that really put a bid under the dollar, and probably on the back of that we saw some euro weakness. Where do we go from here? We've talked before about the head and shoulders from a technical point of view.
Yeah.
What is there more downside for this euro here?
Again, we're treading water. 117 has been the big number at the moment, down to 116.90. A big strong level. We're edging towards that again today. As you say, on picked up on dollar strength, but everyone's waiting for the ECB and what's going to happen. It's not until later in the month that we find out the first indications of what the ECB are going to do as far as policy goes. But there's not really anything here that's kicking markets out of range. And again, you find the big levels, as I say, with 1700, and you trade against them, and you keep a stop fairly tight, and you look for the upside, which at the moment is just looking at the chart, is up around 118.50 on the intraday. Again, anywhere up towards 119, it's going to struggle. So again, just stick to those wide ranges, play the intraday ranges, pick the highs, pick the lows, tops and bottoms, as they say, within these ranges that you can see are trading and holding as support and resistance, and trade off them.
Understood. And moving on to euro sterling, you've already touched on the mess that is the Brexit negotiations. Is there a trade in this as well, or is it all headline based at the moment?
No, it is headline based, but there's some good trading ranges in here. You know, 89 is a big level. We seem to be finding that these big figures are playing ball as far as support and resistance go. There was big resistance up at sort of the 89, high 89s, and into the psychological 90, which we had a little break off, but it hasn't held. And you know, here we are again in the mid 89s and heading lower again. So once again, the best advice is to look at these levels that are holding and trade against them. You know, have some patience. There's no need to chase a trade in these markets. You know, you pick your levels on the charts, see what support, see what's resistance, and you place a trade against them.
Understood. And finally, gold versus dollar. Look, gold dropped below this 1300 level. I think it was really on a bit of dollar strength. Again, we've already talked about that.
Yeah.
Is this 1300 level key? Is this I mean, looking at the RSI, again, it looks like a tread water trade, but well, what's your feel on this one, Ryan?
Yeah, well, as you know, I've been long gold for over a week now. I took off the last of that position last night because we had the North Korea US headlines that diplomats are heading to Seoul for discussions. Apart from a bit of dollar strength, as you say, helping. Any calming down in the North Korea situation is going to hit gold because that's been the main safe haven trade. So I looked at it last night with these headlines. I thought, you know, I've had a good run here. I was in from 1270 odd. It dipped under 1300, which, as you say, is a key level, it's key resistance, and had been key support. Broke under. I thought, you know, that's the time to take the money off the table. So I took that off the table. And as you say, you know, as the headlines come in, I think it's got lower to go as long as the headlines are good, that we're not all going to get nuked in the next couple of weeks.
Yes, well, fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Would you be looking at an entry level if you do have a long bias? Where would be your entry point into this?
Certainly, again, down towards the 1270 area. If I wanted to push it, then 1250 is looking the ideal place. That's looking where the strongest levels are. But again, roll with the headlines. You know, if we get strong headlines and from North Korea again, that's going to be the go-to trade. Everyone's going to jump in that again, and we're going to break above 1300 again. So use the 1300 as a pivot level. You know, if we see like today, we get resistance against the level 1300. I think it's 1296 the high today. That shows that there's resistance up there. Lean against that level if you want to get in a short. Wait till you hit 1296, 97. And you can keep that with a fairly tight stop above 1300. And conversely, if we do break above, then if you miss that trade, then look for longs if we test and hold that level again.
Fantastic, that's great. And looking ahead at the rest of today, the economic calendar, we've got inflation data out from Europe, Carney speaking at 11:15, industrial production at 2:15 UK time, and 3 o'clock housing market index, and finally Harker speaking at 6 o'clock. Anything jumping out, anything that traders should be aware of, sat in front of their screens before and after it comes out today?
Yeah, I mean, we've had the Eurozone inflation just out, and that's all basically in line, so there's no shocks there. But I think Carney's going to be the main attention today, or at least this morning, and to see if we get any clues about what's going to happen potentially for a November hike.
Fantastic. Well, Ryan, thank you very much today for joining us down the line on FX Street Currency in Play. Enjoy your trading and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.